to follow my brother as he follows Christ. Can I have you come up here, brother?
I'm all mic'd up.
I don't even get that.
Huh? Oh, I got that loud, thunderous voice.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Brother?
All right, everybody, I just want you to know that this is my testimony to God. All right, my name is Joshua Curtis Lee Bagley. I'm going to testify to his goodness, his love, his grace, his mercy, his forgiveness. And I hope and pray that the Holy Spirit helps you understand and that you'll be able to make sense of it and where he has done that. Okay? Like I said, I was born and raised here in Live Oak. I'm going to start with my life without Christ. Okay? I grew up in a household to where both of my parents, they loved to drink. They were alcoholics. They went through their drug phase. It was open to us. And I remember this from the age of 6 going throughout my years, right? So my mom, I love her. My dad, I love him. You know, by the age of, I want to say 7 or 8, they ended up getting a divorce. So at that young age, I'm already starting to see my parents separate. My dad's not there anymore. I'm there with my mom, you know, seeing her drunk, going through the nights of craziness, the yelling, the screaming, verbal abuse from my mom to me and my other sister. You know, my older sister, she was older than us by probably like maybe 9 to 10 years. So she really didn't have to face it. She didn't embrace it as much as me and my younger sister. I grew up playing sports, so that kind of kept me away from the house enough to where I didn't hear it all the time, right? I played baseball growing up all the way for, 15 seasons here in Live Oak, starting out with T-ball and then going through high school and to Yuba College, right? I grew up playing football for Gridley, for the Titans, and then played for Live Oak High School. For a moment in my life with baseball, I was actually well known as Northern Cal's, number 4 pitcher in the state of California, so I actually thought that I was actually going to be going somewhere, all right? But it all came to, the lifestyle that I chose to live, and I'll tell you this, I believe that I was a good kid until I reached the age of 13. So you guys, this is for you guys, all right? By the age of 13, seeing what my mom had allowed inside of our house, you start to think and adapt that it's okay, it's acceptable. You know, my mom says it's okay. Everybody else that's coming over, they're doing it, why not? So by the age of 13, I started smoking weed, all right? So that's just the start of it. That same summer, going into my 8th grade year, I'd already tried mushrooms, okay? And so then if we could, every once in a while and everything, I'd start drinking. By the time I was 14, going into, or I believe it to be around like December, this is a vague memory, but I tried acid for the first time. So, you know, hallucinogenics already at the age of 14, right? Go into my freshman year, playing football and everything, that's whenever I started smoking more weed. It was just like to the point throughout my 4 years at Live Oak High School, that's what I was doing. Is after practice, go smoke weed, right? Hang out with the homies and everything like that. Not only that, there's one thing that I want to say. As a young kid, the music that I had grown up to was all the Too Short, the Eazy-E, all this gangster rap music, all right? What kind of influence does that have? You see the music videos, the gangster videos and everything, you end up becoming like that, right? That's what you want to be. That's the in crowd. Everybody else is like that, so let's follow that crowd. And it seemed natural to fit in that way, right? So I've adopted this personality of me wanting to be a gangster, okay? And so I start to run this through my school years and everything, and it only got worse. So baseball season's going, everything's going good, right? But except for this, you know, this sin that's following me, that's in my lifestyle, or in my life. I ended up graduating from Live Oak, and with the credentials of baseball, being MVP of the SVL, the Sacramento Valley League. With that being said, I thought that I was actually going somewhere. I had an opportunity to possibly go to a 4-year university. So I started going to Yuba College. But over that summer, I remember this. It was the first time that I tried crystal meth at the age of 18. And I'm talking about, like, whenever I tried it, I realized, I was like, hey, I can never do this again because you could feel the hook that it had on me, right? So I ended up dropping out of college simply because of this drug. It took me over. I dropped out of school. I stopped playing baseball. There was others, you know, it was our lifestyle. We all ran the same route and everything, but it was just like I understood, hey, I need to get out of here. I can't stay in Live Oak. I'm trapped. My life is going nowhere. I don't have a job. I'm not doing anything. There was an Army recruiter that came to my door, and he knocked on the door. He was like, hey, you know, what are you doing with your life? I was like, well, to tell you the truth, nothing. This is possibly my opportunity to get out of here. I sat there and I listened to what he had to say, and I was just like, I'm all in it. I got a crystal meth addiction. I'm willing to get out of here. So I signed papers, and this is during the invasion of Iraq. OIF 1 was starting to take place. And I remember sitting there with your husband now, right, of how many years ago, Jen? Sitting there just watching the United States invade Iraq, and he was just like this, hey, are you ready to go? Because I'm about to get shipped off to boot camp. And I was just like, yeah, let's do it. So I ended up going, right? Ended up going to basic training, get trained up to be a soldier to stand up for our country in the fight, right? In my military career, I ended up deploying twice, once to Iraq, once to Afghanistan, and ended up becoming 21, developed an alcohol problem, full-blown alcoholic. I'll tell you this, it didn't help with the time going overseas to engage in a combat environment, being mortared, being blown up on the side of the road, or going up and down the roads, providing, you know, convoy security for other elements that we're escorting, RPG attacks, whatever it may be. And you go through that for a year, and, you know, our company alone had 14 Purple Hearts that were awarded to us, and 1 KIA, okay? That's a killed in action. This happened to be my best friend, my best friend, all right? And to tell you a little bit about what happened, we're already cleared on a path to come up. So we have our convoy that goes through, all right? We make it clear for like something like 220 miles. Nothing on the roads. They send them out, and they got hit by an IED. And it was just a piece of shrapnel ended up striking him in the head, and it took his life. His son was just born 8 days before that. And he just got married while he was home on leave. You know, whenever you come back from an environment like that, you don't know how to adapt back to it. Coming in as a civilian, or even living a civilian life, or even, you know, redeploying as a soldier. You got all this extra stuff that's over there. This is all the stuff that starts building up, right? So you leave from one addiction, you know, go into alcoholism, and then coming back with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, all right? From there, it was just like, you know, I couldn't wait to get out. Came back from Afghanistan, and I came back as a civilian. I was like, all right, it's done. I'm done with my military career. You know, not even talking to shrinks, head doctors, or anything like that. I was like, I'll learn to deal with all this myself, okay? So guess what happened? I relied on hitting the bottle back. It took me back to the crank, right? And here's my stretch. Now I got a 5 to 10 year period of just where I'm just sitting back. In that time alone, I ended up getting addicted to Norco, cocaine, ecstasy, crystal meth, anything that I can get my hands on. And I'm just talking about full-blown to the max. There was only one thing that I'd lived to do, and that was to get high. I'm talking about my crystal meth addiction was so ugly to where it's like the only thing that I can say that reminds myself of is a kitten, right, that's got all the fleas around its eyes, that's got the mucus coming out of its nose and just caked up in its face. When I would look in the mirror, I could see death, you know? And it was just like, man, this is, you know, I can't live like this anymore. I can't. There was a cry that was already going out. I acknowledged it, right? But it's without even knowing it. And this is, I love what, you know, Pastor Freddie says, hey, take the fight to the devil. You don't know about the unseen realm, the spiritual realm, right? But it got to the point to where I started hearing voices, okay? And then they would just tell me, hey, just kill yourself. You're worthless. There's no point in you living. What are you doing? All you're doing is just hurting other people, the people that you're around, more or less. And then, you know, it was just like, man, I started buying the lies of the devil, okay? So I'm living with my parents. I'm losing jobs left and right over drugs and alcohol, not being responsible. Every time that I would show up for work, I'd still be under the influence, taking the risk back and forth. You know what I mean? What if I was to hit somebody and kill somebody? This is on top of the 2 DUIs that I got for alcohol. One of them is actually a DUI accident, okay? And so I look at what it used to be like. You know, I used to be this stud athlete. I went to the military, and now I'm just like, I'm nothing. There's no purpose, no meaning of my life, and this is how I felt, right? To the point to where I didn't want to live anymore. To where I was like, I would sit in my room, so depressed, so paranoid, thinking that there was nothing that I can give in life except for this world would be better if I was dead. I would just do everybody an honor with me not being, alive. I blamed everybody except for myself, all kinds of stuff. The depression was so heavy that I would just like think it would just be better if I fell asleep and I wouldn't wake up. Well, of course, my drug addiction and my attitude and me wanting to be a gang member and everything took me to Sutter County Jail, all right? And I remember the first time that I went, that I was sitting in there, I caught a case, and it was simply because some people stole from me. They were stealing from other people. We went to their house to go beat them up, and then they basically called the cops on us, and I ended up getting put in Sutter County Jail, right? And I remember this. I was sitting there, and in Sutter County Jail, they got a jail ministry to where they do a call. I think it's on Tuesday and Saturday nights at 9 o'clock for people to go to church. But I was too afraid. I didn't want God then. I was just like, whatever, hey, it's good. And that was in, what did I think? It was 2013. Little did I know, 4 years later, I'd end up, catching charges again and everything. And I went in, and one of my friends from Live Oak, he said, hey, you got to come in here. You got to meet this pastor, bro. He's got like 18-inch arms, He's a huge dude. Yeah. And so he told me that he was a combat veteran too, that he was a Vietnam veteran. He was like, you got to come meet him. And so whenever I went in, he had everybody sit down. He said, who else, is there anybody new in here? And I was just like, yeah, I'm new. And there's a couple others. He was like, hey, come here. And he asked me the most important question my entire life that changed my life. He said, if you died today, died right now, and you stood in front of Jesus Christ, and he asked you, why should I let you into my heaven? What would you say? And I was just like, man, I don't know. I don't know. And so he proceeded and he shared the gospel with me, but he let me know. He was just like, hey, you're a sinner. You're on your way to hell. You have violated God's law in rebellion to him, that your path, the destruction that you have taken, you're on your way to hell. And I was just like, I stopped and I thought about it, and I was just like, well, I definitely don't want to go to hell, right? That night I made a choice to surrender my life to Jesus Christ. This was in 2017, okay? And this is like, one thing that I want to bring up before that, there was a relationship that I was in that involved children, kids. This goes back to the example is what children see their parents doing, they want to be like mom and dad, and they want to pick up on it, or like the boyfriend or whatever it may be. These children, they used to find glass pipes, crystal meth baggies, and everything like that. It's me being a parent in front of them. And it was just like, now those kids, the way that they've grown up to be the wannabe gangster, smoking weed and living that lifestyle too. That I aided in helping those kids go down the road of destruction, the road to hell, right? And it's just, that's something that I got to live with. Now, coming to know Christ, right, is then given a second chance. That night, whenever I surrendered my life, I didn't know what was going to happen. Because 5 years ago, and I've been walking with Christ for about 4.5, almost 5 years now, if you told me that I would have been up here talking to you guys to give you my testimony on what Christ has done in my life, hey, I would have laughed you off the stage. I would have laughed at you. I would have been like, yeah, right. Okay? So let's start with it. From that time being, I started going to Bible study and getting discipled to understand who my enemy is, Satan, and his fallen angels. I take serious about my fight against Satan because I understand in that spiritual realm, those voices that I heard was from the army of darkness to get me to take my life. That's what fallen angels do. And Satan, they study man. They know what makes us tick. And their job is to take us to hell simply because if we were ever to come to Christ and share the gospel, then guess what? We're an effective weapon in the hands of God, right? He doesn't want nobody to know the message of salvation. He doesn't want nobody. All right, the more that I started getting discipled and understanding what I was hearing, I'm just like this. Oh, man, it was you, Satan. It was you. You were trying to get me to commit suicide, all right? And so it was just like I start to get discipled. I start to grow. I start to learn and mature. and to hate sin. So now I'm on my way to Bible study and church continuously, okay? So then I didn't get completely sober. It wasn't until probably about 4 months after I came to know Christ, okay? He has delivered me from alcohol. He's delivered me from crystal meth, from weed, all right? There's other things, and I'm going to be honest with you because there's something that you guys are going to have to deal with and face too, as in technology, pornography, all right? Sex outside of marriage. Let's see. The negative attitude, always wanting to fight, the anger, the PTSD, okay, it doesn't stop. How about a life of paranoia, scared to go outside simply because I thought everybody hated me, living in fear, all right? So these are the things that God has delivered me from, all right? Now, all right, I'm enrolled in Bible college. I go to Liberty University. I'm in pursuit of getting my associate's degree in religion and Christian leadership, okay? I got ordained last year. I've been brought into the ministry to preach the gospel full time, to share the news of salvation with others. I recently just got married, okay? And how this came about, I look at it as my second chance. Before Stephanie and I got married, we had already made it a point to where, check this out, we would not even kiss before the day of our marriage. So, before that even took place, I was blessed with the opportunity to share the gospel with her, that she would come to Christ, that God would use me to reach my wife, you know, for her to be a born-again Christian too. I got to baptize her before I asked her to marry me, all right? I got to baptize her 2 sons, all right? And then it's just like I sit back and look at it, and now I'm here to testify to you guys. You know, it's the love of God. It's His grace, His mercy that can change somebody. It is His power, because everything that I had done up until then, I was failing. I was on my way to hell. And isn't what, you know, Pastor Freddie says, hey, I pray the same thing. I pray that you guys would invite Christ in your life full time, and it just not be be on the sidelines or anything like that. Because if there's anybody that's going to be able to reach the other children or the other kids that are inside your guys' school, it's you guys. You guys already know how it goes. And if you can't share the gospel with them, that you guys would be willing to even draw them from the school to bring them here, so that way they can hear, they can have a fighting chance. Here's the statistics that I learned in one of my youth classes, that it's 96% of the adolescents here in America are on their way to hell, okay? Do you want to know why? Because there's only 4% that actually believe in the saving grace of God, that it's through Jesus Christ that He died on the cross for our sins and resurrected from the dead, that He is the only way into heaven. There is no other way. What does that go to let you guys know? That not only that, hey, the church is failing, but where are the teenagers? We need more to be able to stand up. We're being overwhelmed with the ways of Satan that's going through public schools and everything that you guys are being taught to keep you separated from God. If there's a fighting chance for any teenagers or high schoolers, it's going to start with you guys. So I pray that you guys embrace the love of God. I pray that you take your guys' walk seriously, that you go all in for Him. You know, and this is the things that when you take God serious, it's like you're going to get promoted in His army. So, you know, that's my testimony. I pray that you guys would be willing to do the work of God that He has lined up for you. So I just want to say thank you. Hey, God bless you all in the name of Jesus Christ.
He was just pouring his heart out, just being just honest with you guys.